Good morning. I now call the 125th Association State Convention, the Maryland State Firemen's Association State Convention to order. And now we'll have our Safety Committee mentions from Mr. Michael LeCompte.
Oh boy. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here. And living here in Ocean City, it means an awful lot. And I'll tell you, without all the hard work that they do behind here and the many, many people on our committees, I will tell you something. You can work hard as you can. If no one shows up, it's really not a convention. So because of all of you, you make this convention work. And it's worked for 125 years. Thank you all for being here. And I mean that from everybody in Ocean City. I went back last night in a hurry because they wanted me to mention safety, and I looked at what causes and what caused people to get hurt 125 years ago, and this might be of interest. 125 years ago, oil-fired lanterns were their number one concern, being knocked over and starting a fire and the glass and all like that. Also, their horses that were so excited, they would run to a hydrant for a water source or to a drafting site, and the horses were so excited when they got there, believe it or not, they would take off. And they were trying to fight a fire in the wagons going down the road with the horses on it. The other thing was they had to worry about were the steel rims on the exterior of the wheels of the steamers while they were trying to get the horses calmed down to hook to a water source and fight the fire. The horses, with no brakes on the horses, they would take off and oftentimes sever the firefighter's foot. And the third thing was the illumination, the lanterns. They would fill a lantern up, they would have it ready, they would light it, they would use the illumination of the lanterns going down the highway or the roadway or the dirt road back then 125 years ago, and they couldn't see. And that was the main problem they had. And then the illumination, when they got on the scene, they had no illumination, so they basically had to take the lantern and go into a fire environment and try to see what they were doing. So they were the hazards and the safety issues 125 years ago. Today, we're in a different environment. Number one, probably our biggest thrust in the fire service is we've got too many cars on the roadway. We get called to an accident, and here's 1,000 cars behind us. And we have to worry about maneuvering and keeping our personnel on the scene safe. The other issues are things like needle sticks. You've got somebody not wearing a seatbelt, and the speeds that we have to go on, the driving, the texting of the people around us, talking on cell phones, and we're in a different environment. We've engineered an environment, we've gone from one facet to another. So even though 125 years ago there was a huge safety issue with not starting another fire or the wagon taking off, today we have to worry about the people coming at us, basically the environment. So our evolution has changed. There's two words that I often hear about, and the word, and because I did it for a living, the word is safety, and the other is unity. And I'll share something with you real quick. If you look around the room right now, believe it or not, anywhere in the entire world, there are probably more firefighters in this room right now than anywhere in the world united together. So we in Maryland have got something to be proud of. And thank you guys again for being here. God bless you, and hopefully I'll see you later on.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Harry Hetz, one of the chaplains from the Chaplains Corps. Let us stand as we are able for prayer. O Lord our God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the men and women who've called to leadership of the Maryland State Firemen's Association and the Ladies Auxiliary of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. We thank you for the men and women who support and serve these organizations and to help to make them function. We thank you for their skills and for their dedication. You have instilled in the hearts of men and women a caring for one another, and we thank you for every man and every woman in the communities that you've raised up to protect life and to protect property. Thank you for all that they do. Watch over our responders in the street, providing care. Watch over our police, that protect our communities. And Father, watch over our military as they protect our nation. Father, we thank you for sustaining the Maryland State Firemen's Association across its 125 years, and the Ladies Auxiliary to the Maryland State Firemen's Association and its 85 years of dedication and support. Guide us now as we conduct the business of this 125th Convention and Conference and the Ladies' 85th Convention. Grant wisdom for every decision. Give each of us a servant's heart. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pride that I introduce to you the President of the Maryland State Firemen's Association, Michael A. Davis, escorted by his wife, past President Ann Price Davis, and President of the Ladies Auxiliary of the Maryland State Firemen's Association, Barbara Sue Nelson, escorted by her husband, Speedy.
Please be seated. Congratulations to our presidents. Please welcome Mr. Tim Koenig.
Good morning. You're a grand old flag, you're a high-flying flag, and forever in peace may you wave. You're the emblem of the land I love, the home of the free and the brave. Every heart beats true 'neath the red, white, and blue, where there's never a boast or brag. Should old acquaintance be forgot, keep your eye on the grand old flag. Keep your eye on the grand old flag. The despot he who is on thy shore, Maryland, my Maryland, his torch is at thy temple door. Maryland, my Maryland, avenge the patriotic gore that flecked the streets of Baltimore, and be the battle queen of yore. Maryland, my Maryland. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the lights from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Please remain seated. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for the presentation of our American flag and colors by the Maryland Fire Service Honor Guard.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you please join me in recognizing Mr. Tim Koenig and our Maryland Fire Service pipes and drums.
Hear ye, hear ye. Calling to order the Maryland State Firemen's Convention, June the 7th, 1893. Roll call member companies. Frostburg Fire Department number 1. First Hagerstown Hose Company. Independent Junior Fire Company number 3 of Hagerstown. Western Enterprise Company number 4 of Hagerstown. Pioneer Hook and Ladder Company of Hagerstown. The Independent Hose Company number 1 of Frederick. The Junior Steam Fire Engine Company number 2 of Frederick. The United Steam Fire Engine Company number 3 of Frederick. The Union Bridge Fire Company. The Westminster Fire and Hose Company number 1. Water Witch of Port Deposit. And the Baltimore Veterans Association. The member companies of the Maryland State Firemen's Association, June the 7th, 1893. All able-bodied men of Frederick are hereby summoned to help organize a fire company to protect our city from fire and conflagration. The year was 1818, and the citizens gathered around our courthouse square to discuss fire protection, or shall we say the lack thereof, that existed in our city. Oh, we had fire companies. We had the Union Fire Company and the Sun Fire Company, the Friendship Fire Company and Frederick Hose Company, but their abilities and capabilities were somewhat under discussion. The history of the fire service in Frederick is really part of the history of the fire service of our association. And it begins in 1760, when the citizens of Frederick petitioned the Maryland Assembly for permission to conduct a lottery, which they did in 1764. They purchased the first engine called the Grandfather, and it was assigned to the Frederick Hose Company, predecessor to today's Independent Hose Company. The Independents were organized in 1818. 1893, they celebrated their 75th year, which will be important in just a moment. In 1817, the city of Frederick passed an ordinance that All males would respond to an alarm of fire with a bucket in hand or be fined a princely sum of 12.5 cents. In 1838, a group of young men were in downtown Frederick, and they felt another fire company was needed. This young men gathered at Dr. Mance's drugstore and formed the Young Men's Fire Company, ultimately incorporated as the Junior Fire Company No. 2. Tragedy struck the Junior Fire Company in the state of Maryland in 1840. The first recorded line-of-duty death occurred when William Carlton, a founding member of the Juniors, collapsed while pulling the junior pumper through the streets of Frederick for an alarm of fire in the courthouse square. Today, it is acknowledged as the first official line-of-duty death in the state of Maryland. In 1837, another company tried to organize the Washington Hose Company, but they had difficulty maintaining their membership and asked the independents to take them on as an auxiliary company. But the independents, being very independent, refused, and the company ultimately folded. However, there was an attempt to bring them back and reorganize at their station. And the company initially was called the Mechanics Fire Company, but for whatever reason, maybe they weren't very mechanical, they organized as the United Fire Company, United No. 3 of Frederick. Their firehouse was built in a very swampy area of downtown Frederick, and the firehouse became known as a swamp hall. And the firefighters became known as Swampers. And to this day, their mascot stands guard over Frederick, Johnny Swamper. In 1858, Captain John Sinn of the United Fire Company went to his department and suggested they organize a militia unit. You see, there was about ready to have an occasion in Frederick of a near riot condition. For the first time in 20 years, there was about ready to be a public hanging. And they felt there would be need for a militia unit and possibly guards for the gallows. The other fire companies soon followed suit. The independents organized a militia unit, the Independent Riflemen, and the juniors organized the Junior Defenders. In 1857, a fire was smoldering in our nation's heartland, a fire that would eventually require the assistance of our volunteers. A former Missouri slave by the name of Dred Scott had lived as a free man in Illinois and Wisconsin and returned to his home in Missouri, but was once again declared a slave. He protested all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States, where the Chief Justice, Roger Brooke Tawney, a Frederick attorney, and the brother-in-law of Francis Scott Key, handed down what today we know as the Dred Scott decision. That said, the United States did not have the right to usurp the authority of the state of Missouri, and Dred Scott did not have the rights of a free man. This infuriated an abolitionist by the name of John Brown, who brought his violence to the small town of Harper's Ferry. On October 17, 1859, the fire bell rang atop the Swamp Hall and the Independent Hose Company and the churches in Frederick, summoning the volunteers not to fight a fire, but to help quell an insurrection. The volunteers were transported by a special train of the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad to the town of Harper's Ferry, where they patrolled the streets, guarded the railroad bridges, and assisted under the command of Captain Robert E. Lee in capturing John Brown. They actually guarded John Brown in the engine house. Captain Sinn and the Uniteds were there, and John Brown pleaded with Captain Sinn, let us go into Maryland, follow us there, which he refused. But he asked for medical attention for his injured men. Captain Sinn requested Dr. Tyler, the surgeon of the Junior Fire Company, be summoned, but upon his arrival, the Marines would not allow him to treat John Brown's men, only the injured Marines and civilians. However, John Brown publicly thanked the United Fire Company for their humane treatment at his trial in Charlestown. When the Civil War broke out, our fire companies were also used as arsenals. The Junior Fire Company was part of General Hospital No. 6, treating the wounded from the Battle of Antietam. The Junior Fire Company was also the home of the Sons of Temperance, an organization I doubt they could accommodate today. After the Civil War, the fire companies started the era of the steam pumper. The juniors purchased an 1876 Silsby pumper. It was the first one purchased in Frederick, and also purchased a ladder wagon from Mr. Charles T. Holloway, which you'll hear more about a little later on. The United Fire Company No. 3 purchased a steamer in 1878. It was a beautiful steamer, shipped by rail to the town of Frederick. And when they went to uncover it at night so they could parade it the next day, instead of a beautiful, shiny steamer, they had this large, black, ugly monstrosity. And they were very upset. So much so, they called Mr. Clapp of the Clapp & Jones Company to come to Frederick and explain to them this tragedy. Mr. Clapp advised them to pour boiling hot water over the engine to remove the camisole, the protective covering, and shipment, which they did, and a beautiful engine was paraded through the streets of Frederick the next day. Now, Mr. Clapp was so proud of this engine that he guaranteed it would throw 2 streams of water over the town clock, or they would not have to pay for it. Put it in writing on their contract. Not only did it throw 2 streams of water over the town clock, it damaged the town clock, and the church vestry voted never to allow the fire companies to test their pumpers over the town clock again, which, by the way, is still in existence to this day. The Independent Hose Company purchased some beautiful LaFrance engine, and they called it Romeo. Romeo was a fine pumping piece, but had one little bit of a problem. It was heavier than the bridges of Frederick, and upon the alarm of fire at the gas works, collapsed the bridge over Carroll Creek and was destroyed. But the Independents were undaunted. They ordered another engine from LaFrance, and of course it was called Juliet. Juliet was a fine pumping piece, pumped 2,800 feet of hose at the Frederick Fairgrounds to save the barns, and was transported by train to the town of Emmitsburg to fight a fire at St. Joseph's College and save the buildings of what today we know as the National Fire Academy. Well, you know, the fire service have always been a bit rambunctious, and so they were in Frederick. At an alarm of fire at the Hauser Brewery in downtown Frederick, the lads did a fine job extinguishing the fire. However, fisticuff broke out to claim the beer barrel attached to the building. The Independent Hose Company won the battle royal, and to this day the beer barrel is proudly displayed in their trophy case. Now, a grand event happened in 1893 in Frederick. The 3 companies I mentioned were truly the forefathers of this organization, and they gathered in 1892 along with the Guardian Hose Company of Thurmont to talk about, possibly, what can we do to strengthen our volunteer service in Maryland, bring our companies together. Mr. J. Roger McSherry took the lead and suggested that in 1893, the Independent Hose Company's 75th anniversary, thousands of firefighters would descend upon Frederick. That's the time to bring us together, which they did. June the 7th and 8th, 1893, in downtown Frederick. You'll find that Mr. Charles T. Holloway is mentioned in the following video, and the beautiful hose carriage that the Independents owned was built by Mr. Holloway in 1893 in honor of the great Maryland State Firemen's Association and their first president, Mr. J. Roger McSherry of the Independents. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 125th Convention of the Maryland State Firemen's Association, and please enjoy this history video.
The history of the Maryland Fire Service is no doubt as old as the first landing at St. Mary's City in 1634. Many of the early communities in Maryland had at least some form of organized fire protection from the early settlements. The city of Annapolis purchased the first engine in 1755 as the first city in Maryland documented to have formal fire protection. One of the first known organizations to provide fire protection was the Ancient and Honorable Mechanical Company of Baltimore City. This organization still exists today and was formed in 1763 to protect life and property of the city of Baltimore. The organization not only provided fire protection, but also the duties needed for the government of the town, its policing, magisterial functions, and in addition acted as firemen. According to the company historian George W. McCreary, the Mechanical Fire Company No. 1 of Baltimore City was part of a parent organization and became the Baltimore City Fire Department. Today it is Engine Company No. 4 upon being absorbed into the Baltimore City Fire Department in 1860. First hose of Hagerstown can trace roots to 1815 with the formation of a community bucket brigade. The Easton Fire Department was organized in 1808, however, had several years of non-consecutive service. The Independent Hose Company No. 1 of Frederick is the oldest continuously operating fire company in the state of Maryland. It was in Frederick, the location of the Independent Hose Company No. 1, that the Maryland State Firemen's Association was organized. The assembled consisted not only of delegates from many organized fire companies of the day, but also representatives of the Veterans Volunteer Firemen's Association of Baltimore. The first meeting was held in the City Opera House in Frederick on June 7th and 8th, 1893. Mr. J. Roger McSherry of the Independent Hose Company was elected the first president, and upon calling the meeting to order remarked, "This meeting should be a cause of self-congratulation to the firemen of Maryland, because it emphasizes the fact and announces to the world that volunteer firemen of our state at last awakened to the necessity of a more thorough and complete organization, and understanding this necessity, have realized that to promote and increase their efficiency as firemen, to encourage a fraternal feeling amongst them one another, and to secure sufficient protection as a class, such an organization is essential. The first Committee on Credentials reported the following as the initial organizing members. From the City of Baltimore, the Veteran Volunteer Firemen's Association. From Frederick, the Independent Hose Company No. 1, the Junior Steam Fire Engine Company No. 2, and the United Steam Fire Engine Company No. 3. From Frostburg, the Frostburg Fire Department No. 1. From Hagerstown, First Hagerstown Hose Company, the Independent Junior Fire Company, Western Enterprise of Hagerstown, and the Pioneer Hook and Ladder Company. The Waterwitch Fire Company of Port Deposit, the Union Bridge Fire Company, and the Westminster Fire Engine and Hose Company No. 1. Initially, the Mechanicstown Fire Company, Guardian Hose Company, today of Thurmont, was part of the organization, but did not actually join as a charter member and did not join the MSFA until 1918. Mr. J. Roger McSherry of the Independent Hose Company No. 1 was elected the first president. McSherry was an attorney, and his brother, the Honorable Jim McSherry, was Chief Justice of the Maryland Court of Appeals. Today, members of the McSherry family continue to carry on the family tradition of legal counsel. Both the Senior Vice President, Mr. Charles T. Holloway, and Vice President, Mr. Edward Israel, were members of the Veterans Firemen Association of Baltimore City. Mr. Holloway was noted throughout Maryland for his fire service experience. In 1850, he organized the first hook and ladder company in Baltimore City, the Pioneer Hook and Ladder. In 1855, he encouraged the purchase of the first steam pumper in Baltimore. And in 1858 and 59, he was appointed the first chief of the Baltimore City Paid Fire Department. He was credited with being one of the first fire chiefs to keep statistical data to justify apparatus and staffing. And from 1868 to 1894, he served as a fire inspector for the Baltimore City Fire Department. In 1882, he was appointed the first chief of the Baltimore County Fire Department, and he also helped organize the Baltimore City Salvage Corps. The other elected officials in 1893 were Edward Israel of the Veterans Association, Edward Eichelberger of the Independent Hose Company of Frederick, Edward Kuntz of the Junior Fire Company of Frederick, Benjamin H. Blackston of the United Fire Company of Frederick, Frank Spates of the Frostburg Fire Department, T.E. McCardle of the Independent Junior Fire Company of Hagerstown, Colonel E.M. Mobley of First Hagerstown Hose Company, G.A. Inwalker of the Waterwitch of Port Deposit, and O.D. Gilbert from Westminster. It should be noted that the Union Bridge Fire Company and Pioneer Hook and Ladder of Hagerstown were original members but did not report credentials and thus did not have a vice president. The Maryland State Firemen's Association has been involved in legislative issues. At the first convention, there was a resolution that was passed that directed the Congress of the United States regarding the lack of available property insurance. The two committees appointed at the first convention were the Legislative Committee and the Transportation Committee. Romeo, the ornate 1893 hose carriage that was unveiled at the MSFA convention in Frederick, was built by Mr. Charles T. Holloway. He built the hose carriage as a very ornate unit, so it was as much for display as practicality. It has bells and mirrors and colorful designs that was its hallmark. The reels were mounted for rapid hose deployment, and it was mostly pulled by hand rather than horses. A mammoth parade and tournament was held to celebrate the first convention. Units attended from the District of Columbia, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and even New Jersey and New York. It was reported approximately 5,000 people were in the line of march. The State Association still celebrates the end of a successful convention by conducting a large firemen's parade to salute the incoming officers of the Maryland State Firemen's Association and the Ladies Auxiliary. In the tournament displaying various firefighting capabilities, companies from both within Maryland and surrounding states competed. The Columbia Steam Fire Engine Company No. 4 of Alexandria, Virginia, won the steam fire engine contest, while the Baltimore Veterans Association won the competition using hand pumpers. The hose race, running 200 yards to a hydrant pulling 150 feet of hose, was won by the First Hose Company of Hagerstown in 53.25 seconds. The Waterwitch Fire Company of Annapolis won the ladder raising contest in 51.25 seconds. And the drill marching was won by the Junior Steam Fire Engine Company of Reading, Pennsylvania. As more and more companies were organized throughout the state, the MSFA continued to grow in numbers and influence. One of the original standing committees of MSFA was the Legislative Committee, a committee that still plays a critical role, being active during each session of the Maryland General Assembly. Since that momentous occasion in Frederick, annual conventions have been held to allow all members' companies to participate in the business of the association. These conventions are required by the Constitution and bylaws and have been held every year except in 1945, at which time all conventions were suspended due to World War II. Conventions have been held in many cities and towns throughout Maryland. Even the city of Baltimore hosted 6 conventions. In 1967, the convention was held in Frederick, honoring President Bill Moore of the Citizens Truck Company and the United Fire Company. Since then, all conventions have been held in Ocean City. The conventions have dramatically changed by nature by becoming more focused toward training, information sharing, and promoting new equipment and apparatus. The annual convention and conference conducts an annual election and business meeting, providing an opportunity for all member companies to be recognized and participate. In addition to the educational seminars, pertinent speakers, family activities are also a positive change to keep members up to date with the latest technology and training. MSFA has always considered fire service training a priority. In 1929, Chief Jesse Fisher of the Annapolis Fire Department recommended the establishment of a committee to explore the possibility of a fire college and training program. Chief Fisher was appointed the chairman of the Special Fire College Committee. These first attempts to provide the highest level of training to the Maryland Fire Service were the foundation of the Fire Service extension of the University of Maryland, ultimately becoming what we know today as the Maryland Fire Rescue Institute. Another momentous occasion in the history of the MSFA was the organization of the Ladies Auxiliary. This organization was undertaking many worthy projects since its inception in 1932. But the most familiar project is the support of those firefighters sick or injured in the Bessie Marshall Fund. The Maryland State Firemen's Association had many officers that held elective office, even governor of the state of Maryland. J. Millard Talls was elected president of MSFA in 1936 as a member of the Crisfield Fire Department. He served as the governor of the state of Maryland from 1959 to 1967, always maintaining a close relation with the volunteer fire service. The late Louis L. Goldstein, the popular comptroller of the state of Maryland, was an active member of the Prince Frederick Volunteer Fire Department. Today, the Maryland State Firemen's Association is a vibrant organization representing over 370 volunteer companies in every county in Maryland. The association is very active in legislative matters that pertain to the volunteer fire service, both on the state and national level. The association is also in the forefront of promoting fire safety and public fire education programs. Congratulations to the Maryland State Firemen's Association for 125 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Maryland.
Well, welcome to the 125th Anniversary Convention and Conference of the MSFA, and we hope that you and your families have a safe and enjoyable time in Ocean City. This is our 68th year at the beach for our convention and our 50th consecutive convention at Maryland's Ocean Playground. As a result of several years of planning and many meetings of the 125th Anniversary Committee, we are proud of our past year's activities and want to thank our host, the Arbutus Volunteer Fire Company, the Ridge Volunteer Fire Department, Junior's Fire Company No. 2, and the Waterwitch Volunteer Fire Company for hosting our regional events. I'm sure that this year's annual convention in Ocean City will be memorable and full of opportunities for fellowship, education, and celebration as we move into our next quarter of a century serving the citizens of Maryland. I want to thank all of those who attended one or all of our regional celebrations during the past year, and the committee hopes that you enjoyed your trip back through the creation, history, and growth of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. It is your association and one that each of you has played a role in its success. For those of you that could not attend, you missed a great opportunity to enjoy the hospitality of our host companies, see old friends, and make new ones. Some of the celebration events were an opportunity to visit a few of our charter member companies and see how they have grown and prospered while preserving much of the history and equipment of their organizations. And at others, we had a chance to visit the Fire Museum of Maryland and enjoy vintage equipment and historical displays of the growth of Maryland's fire service, or a visit to historic St. Mary's City, Maryland's first capital, where we honored our fallen fire and EMS personnel, as well as the former leadership of the Maryland State Firemen's Association in a very moving memorial program on the banks of the St. Mary's River. And we enjoyed a visit to historic towns that were part of our origin. In Frederick, the site of our first meetings of the association, and a wonderful gala evening organized by the Frederick Volunteers. And finally, our last celebration before coming to Ocean City and to complete our journey around the state was a visit to historic Port Deposit. We'll just take a break here a second. You ladies, you all can retire if you would like. It's been a long time standing, I know. You want to retire? Come this way. Can we have a hand down front? Okay. We'll pause for just a second.
I got the bag all the way.
It's a long time standing. Should be. Oh, and back to my remarks. And finally, as our celebration comes to Ocean City and we complete our journey around the state, our last visit was at historic Port Deposit, home of charter member company, Waterwitch Volunteer Fire Company, located on the beautiful Susquehanna River. The event was included a hospitality evening, a welcome by Mayor Tome, concluding with a parade, fireworks, and a social evening along the river. The rain may have dampened our spirits, but dampened the evening, but certainly not our spirits, and our host is to be commended for all of their great work. Here at Ocean City for our 50th consecutive year, we will complete our anniversary journey enjoying the hospitality of the mayor, city council, and residents of the city. We have attempted to recreate an atmosphere of conventions in the past, as you've seen, with a lot of red, white, and blue. Our historic highway arch out front at the entrance of the convention center, and some restored equipment of years gone by. And there may be a few more surprises along the way yet. In closing, there are many challenges that we will face in the future, both on the fire ground and off. But there are none that we cannot accomplish if we continue to work together as a team and educate our new members of the importance of a unified statewide voice representing the volunteer system that Maryland Fire and EMS has enjoyed. The MSFA is that voice, and you are the messengers. Now for a commercial message, I would remind you that the commemorative coin sets that we have, the 5 coins and the mounting block for them are available down in D Hall at the rear of the convention center. There were only 250 of those sets made. And also, as you sat down today, there was a commemorative book of the history of the MSFA. There's actually a 5-book collection. The other books, the other 4 books that were available throughout the year are available also down in D Hall. So please stop by if you would like to get a full collection of those. Each book has a 25-year block of the history of the MSFA and the host company that hosted one of the regional celebrations. So there were only 1,000 of those printed, so please help yourself to those. But don't take an armful, take what you need so everybody can get an opportunity for those. In closing, I would like to recognize the members of the 125th Anniversary Committee and ask that you give them a nice round of applause after I read their names. Ken Bush, Bill Bernard, Chip Jewell, Johnny Roth, Bob Jacobs, Wayne Powell, Danny Davis, Susan Proles, Mike Davis, Dual Cox, Elaine Huttenlock, Teresa Chrisman, Jenny Willite, Bill Hinton, Jenny McClellan. She wrote the books. She prepared all the history books. Lynn Hawkins, Donna Clark, Jim Seavey, Barbara Sue Nelson, Doug Simpkins. Myself and Richard Yinger were subcommittee chairmen, and our chairman, Ron Sarnicki, of the convention was overall chair. So we'd like to thank all of them. And also, there's been an enormous amount of work that went into all the decorating for this year's celebration. And I certainly want to thank all of the people that were involved in that. It's just hundreds of people that have been here working since Friday to get the celebration underway. So thank you and enjoy the rest of the convention. You all can exit stage right. I'm sorry, I did miss one thing. We have a video, so we have a video of some of the celebrations that we had, so we'll show that video now at the different regional celebrations.
Please be seated. That's it. Might as well just let them go. While you're all enjoying the balloons, what a wonderful job was done by Chip Jewell. Could you all give Chip a great round of applause? He is absolutely amazing. Also, let's have a big hand for all our folks who appeared in costumes up here earlier. And our one special person in costume is fine, all right? Also, we want to recognize the Westminster Municipal Band for their outstanding performance again this morning. And now, if you'll indulge us just a little bit, we'd like to recognize the past presidents of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. Please come up on stage if you're able. We'd like to recognize you. First off, we'll begin with Robert P. Cumberland, 1987-1988. Joseph A. Robison, 1989-90, seated right up in front here. Thomas A. Mattingly Sr., 1990-91. Bernard J. Smith, 1991-92. Philip M. Herlock, 1993-94. George A. Fred Cross, 1995-96. Stephen D. Cox, 1996-97. Charles Daniel Davis, Jr., 1997-98. Robert E. Nippenberg, 1998-99. Carl B. Edelin, Jr., 1999-2000. Roger A. Steger, Sr., 2000-2001. Gene Worthington, 2002-2003. Terry E. Thompson, 2003-2004. Robert W. Jacobs, 2004-2005. Paul R. Bobby Balta, Jr., 2006-2007. Paul H. Sterling, Jr., 2007-2008. Frank J. Underwood, 2008-2009. Roger N. Powell, Esquire, 2009-2010. Doyle E. Cox, 2010-2011. David W. Lewis, 2011-2012. John Denver, 2012-2013. Jacqueline Olson, 2013-2014. And Mr. Johnny Roth, the current past president of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome our fire service past presidents of the Maryland State Firemen's Association.
It is my pleasure to introduce a great friend of this association and all firemen, the Mayor of Ocean City, Mayor Meehan. Give it up for Mayor Meehan.
Thank you. Morning, everybody. Morning, Mayor. Well, I don't know if I can top the balloon drop. It's amazing what a few balloons can incite up in all of us, isn't it? I think that looked like the most fun I've seen people have in this room in a long time. So we're going to have to do that more often. Yeah, it's still going. We're going to have to do it more often. On behalf of the Mayor and City Council and all the citizens of Ocean City, I'm here again to welcome you to the town of Ocean City and for your convention here for 67 years that you've been coming here to Ocean City. We want to thank you so much. You know, I'm a product of the 1960s in Ocean City, and I know that there's a lot of talk about the different official starts of the summer season, but I remember very clearly and very well that, yes, there was Memorial Day weekend, but we knew that the summer officially started when the Maryland State Firemen's Association came to Ocean City. And I still feel that way, and I want to thank you for officially starting the summer season here in Ocean City. And you're particularly welcome as every year, but we've had a little bit of a rocky start with some different issues this year in Ocean City. To see all your friendly faces, it really is special this year. And I know this is a special year for your organization, 125 years. It's quite an accomplishment. I don't know if you looked at it or not, but in 1993, Grover Cleveland was a president of the United States. He was the 24th president. And things have changed dramatically, not just in your organization, but in the world around us. There were no TVs back then, no fast food locations, no internet, and no cell phones. Can you imagine? The world has changed. But during those changes, one thing has been consistent and constant, and that's the Maryland State Firemen's Association. It's unbelievable that this organization started with just 12 companies, and the ceremony that you just viewed really illustrated how this organization started and was a tremendous ceremony. But now there's over 365 volunteer fire and rescue units in the state of Maryland. For 125 years, Marylanders have been looking to your volunteer organization to be there in a time of need, and you've always been there to respond. You've created a great tradition of service and dedication that continues today, and all Marylanders thank you. We join with you to celebrate this special anniversary. I know how important the volunteer fire department is here in Ocean City to our history and to helping us to be where we are today, and we wouldn't have been here and been as successful without them. And I know your communities feel the same way. I know you're looking forward to a great convention, and your committee has been working very hard, and I think that's very evident by the ceremony that you witnessed before I stood up to this podium today. It was wonderful, and they worked diligently in order to make sure this is the best convention each and every year. I know this is an opportunity for you to attend seminars, experience training, and view all the exhibits in the exhibit hall. And it's also an opportunity to speak with other members to discuss important issues that face your departments, such as safety and, of course, the ever-challenging issue of recruitment. I commend you on making your convention a family-friendly event and offering the different activities that you do at the Jolly Roger and Frontier Town to not only allow members to experience the convention, but to encourage them to bring their families and join in and be part of the activities of this great organization. Your families are your support group. They're your support system. They always have been. And we want to thank your families for supporting your volunteer service. While you're here, I hope you enjoy the amenities of Ocean City. Of course, the beach and the boardwalk, but also some of the free events we offer. The new event, the 100 Nights of Lights downtown on the boardwalk every night at 9 o'clock, the fireworks, all the restaurants, all the different things that we offer. Of course, the businesses are hoping you go out and spend a few dollars while you're here, and we know you will. I look forward to the annual parade on Wednesday. It's always a great event, another tradition, and you know, sometimes traditions are lost in this country, and we need to preserve traditions like the Maryland State Firemen's Parade here in Ocean City. I personally want to thank all of you for your continued services to the state of Maryland and to all of our citizens. I urge you that while you're here, not only enjoy this time and enjoy the time with your families, but also be safe. Please remember the same message I give everybody. I know safety is your primary concern. Use the crosswalks, take advantage of the bus service, and if you run into any of the stray graduates, please avoid them at all costs. If you happen to recognize any of them and they look lost, please take them home with you. We're done. But it's a great time in Ocean City. It's great to have you here, and I truly want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all you do and for being here in Ocean City. Thank you all very much. I would like to make a couple presentations, if I may. I may. Thank you for joining me. Okay, just on cue. You know, these conventions and everything that happens during the course of the year wouldn't happen without good leadership. And the Maryland State Firemen's Association has always been blessed with good leadership. And you were reintroduced to many of your previous leaders here just a few minutes ago. And this year is no exception. Events like this don't just happen. They're a result of extensive planning, hard work, and dedication. And these two individuals have certainly demonstrated that to your organization. So to recognize that from the town of Ocean City, first, for Mike Davis, President, Maryland State Firemen's Association, I want to present to him from the citizens of Ocean City and really from all of us a key to the town of Ocean City in appreciation for everything he has done for your organization. Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And also, of course, the backbone and support group of any organizations, the Ladies Auxiliary. And we want to recognize Barbara Nelson again for her contributions during the past year, and I know on both of their cases for many years prior to, and certainly many years into the future, with a key to the city in recognition of everything she has done for the Ladies Auxiliary and your Maryland State Firemen's Association. Barbara? Thank you. Thank you. Want to get a picture? Photo op, 1 minute.
Picture quick.
You're very welcome. Now, I have a very special presentation to make in honor of the 125th anniversary of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. The town of Ocean City would like to present to you this cake and all the cupcakes that accompany it to recognize your service, your organization, and everything you've done for the state of Maryland. This is a gift to you from the town of Ocean City. We would ask that you don't attack that like you did the balloons. But I have been told that shortly after noon in some area, this cake will be out there and available for everybody to enjoy, and the cupcakes. And again, it's a small token of appreciation for everything you do, have done, and will continue to do for all of us. Again, welcome to Ocean City. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Mayor Meehan, on behalf of the MSFA, and I have to be honest, it's not us so much. Yes, we were the leadership. However, the folks, the 125th folks, as you know, we come down here 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 times a year,
14.
as many times as we can. I come as often as I can. I have a place, I'm indentured. I'm going to use that key. I'm going to keep that in my pocket when I come down.
Good.
But it's always a pleasure to come down here and see you guys, your office, and everyone is so wonderful to us, too. And I present to you our convention mug for 125 years.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know I display these in my
Yes.
office.
And Barbara Sue has something for you, too.
And I also have a candy jar for you.
Well, thank
so,
you.
from me. Thank
Thank
you.
you very
Thank
much.
you for all you do for us.
Thank you again. Thank you. You want me?
All right.
They want us? What do they want?
Good. We'll swap. And you can leave the mug.
What do they want us to do?
Come up right away from it.
What do you want us to do? Just come on. You're done.
I'm done.
You're good.
I've been dismissed. Thank you all again. Enjoy your week in Ocean City.
And now we're going to find out if we're going to have sunshine. The great Senator Mathias is here, sir. We welcome you.
Come on, let me hear you make some noise, MSFA. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Where's our friends from Western Maryland? Come on, let me hear you out there. How about my friends in Southern Maryland? Come on now, let me hear you. Where's those D.C. suburbs? Come on, let me hear you make some noise. How about Central Maryland, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Howard County? Let me hear you. All right, now, how about that Eastern Shore? Come on now. Do we love Maryland? Let me hear you. Make some noise, MSFA. Happy 125th. We love you, and I got one thing to say. The sun will shine on Parade Day. We ready to do some parading? Absolutely, we love you. I just want to say I am so proud to be here with you today. MSFA, Ladies Auxiliary, our past presidents, our members, I am so proud, Madam President, to be here on the 125th. I'm getting your recipe. I'm only 65, and look at me, 125. You look marvelous, my dear.
Well, thanks, but I'm not that old, Mike is.
Absolutely. So you and Mike will take up who's what. But I want to tell you, you are the greatest. And I want to thank the mayor and the council here in Ocean City for continuing to be there for you and with you. And just take a look around this facility. The Roland D. Powell, the Roland E. Powell facility, not only a former mayor, but most importantly, a former fire chief. A fire chief that answered the call like you answered the call. And certainly we have our former chief, Roger Steger, right here. And he, when Y2K, Mr. President, was the president that brought in our new era of time. But together, they all made this happen. If you recall, they triply expanded this facility with you. I'm happy to stand here on the 125th. And I'm asking you personally to continue to be here as we continue to go forward and write the rich history of the Maryland MSFA and the Ladies Auxiliary, because you do the work back in our communities. I thank you and all. You rallied. Richard and Steve Cox were there every day when I get ready to go to work in Annapolis. I'm walking across. Some of the very first people I see is them. Our fire marshals here with us in the front row. We've saved lives with carbon monoxide detectors in hotel properties, rental properties, and the like. And we thank you. Some of those decisions are tough, like sprinklers in residential homes, but you know what? It's the right thing to do, not only to protect the occupants, but to protect you. And I thank you because you get to come, answer the call, and we afford you legislatively what you need, the tools to go home safe. I thank you. Not only will the sun shine on parade day, but I hear tonight around 9 o'clock, the beer is going to continue to be cold down at the Cork Bar. The crabs are hot. The ocean is great. Who got to see that air show? Put your hand up in the air. What? Do we live in the greatest country in the world? Come on, let me hear it for the USA. And God bless you. I know when that call comes that you and yours will answer that call to keep us the greatest country, the greatest state, the greatest community, and the greatest people. God bless you. I'll see you at the parade. Thanks for being here. Happy 125th.
Well, we can't let you get out of here without our 125th anniversary mug and a convention bag. Also, we had a little beach party you might have heard about for these officers. So I had custom J.O. Spice done, and a mallet, and a shark bag for the beach. All right, for you.
Let me back up here. He told me I'm ready to get down to the Cork Bar tonight, fill this thing up, and crack some of those crabs and join you and have a great time. God bless you. Thank you, Mr. President, Madam President.
Now, it brings me great pleasure to introduce General Sean Casey of the Maryland National Guard. Thank you.
Well, that's a couple of tough acts to follow. I've said it last year, and I'll say it again. In my job, I'm fortunate to travel around the country and around the world, and I've never seen such a neat podium as what you guys have here. So it's an honor to stand here and talk. Thank you, Mayor Meehan, Senator Mathias, for those great words. Mr. President, Madam President, thank you for having me today. I bring you greetings from our Commander-in-Chief, Governor Larry Hogan, and from our Adjutant General, Major General Linda Singh, and all the soldiers, airmen, and civilians in the Maryland Military Department. I'm honored today to speak to the members of this great association and all who have served this great state and nation. Your association mission to serve, promote, advocate, and represent the interests of all volunteer fire, rescue, and emergency medical services companies or departments of Maryland and the individuals who serve is quite an admirable one. I'd like to start by honoring Charles Rick Gentilcore, a Montgomery County firefighter who died while on duty at the Burtonsville Fire Station. We owe him and all who make the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty our unending debt of gratitude and our promise to do what we can to support. I'm often dismayed these days at the inappropriate use of the term hero. We hear the label attached to professional athletes, musicians, and actors. Merriam-Webster defines a hero as a person who is admired for great or brave acts or fine qualities. I will also add a hero will risk their own safety for the safety of others. In my opinion, professional athletes, musicians, and actors do not meet the standards of hero, but you do. Every day you commit to risk your personal safety for the welfare of others. As 2017 marks the association's 125th anniversary, I congratulate you on the accomplishments and effectiveness of your program. The Maryland Military Department is pleased to partner with the association to administer the Amos Fund and the Volunteer Company Assistance Fund. In 2016, we closed 20 loans and 2 grants totaling over $8.5 million. In 2017, we project closing 11 loans and 2 grants totaling over $6.3 million. As of today, the fund has just over $10 million available for future loans. We share your commitment to public safety, as MEMA is a part of our department, and we in the Guard serve our state and country with pride. We have a common link too, in that many who serve in the Guard are also volunteer emergency personnel. The Maryland National Guard has 64 firefighters, 31 of them paid and 33 volunteers, and 32 EMTs, 23 paid and 9 volunteers in our ranks. Those of us in military uniform, particularly the National Guard, share common bonds with you as volunteers and local responders. We share the desire to serve, share the willingness to sacrifice for others, and share that ours is a profession. We are committed to be part of something bigger than us. We have committed to achieve and maintain certain standards. Most of all, we are committed to hold ourselves to a higher standard of performance, behavior, and ethics than the average citizen to always support our state and nation. Again, on behalf of Major General Singh, all the soldiers, airmen, and civilians of the Maryland Military Department, thank you for what you do to protect our citizens of the great state of Maryland, and we look forward to another successful year together. I wish you a very successful convention and a great time in Ocean City. May God bless the first responders, especially the volunteer firefighters, rescuers, and emergency medical volunteers who answer the call to serve. May God bless you and continue to bless our great state and nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Major Casey. I can't say enough about the Maryland Department of Military, and Major Singh and her office staff are more than helpful with us in administrating the loans. I know we've closed several. I have to sign all those documents, and I think it's a great thing. We have a great revolving fund and a great relationship, and a long-term one, and we hope to have that for many more years, and we are very appreciative of that. And thank you. And I got 2 things for you. So, of course, you get our token 125th anniversary mug, as well as the convention bag for you. And I also like to present you with my coin. It's actually a joint coin that Barbara Sue and I did. So on one side, there are 3 symbols for where we're from: the state association, my county, my company, and also hers, ladies, and her company and county. And our names are around the edges, so it's a little unique. Present that to you. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Colonel William Pelosi, Superintendent of Maryland State Police.
Now it's my pleasure to introduce Colonel William Pelosi, the Secretary of the Maryland State Police.
Good morning, everyone. You know, as the leader of an organization, the Maryland State Police, I like to say we have a proud past and a bright future. But we're only 96 years old, so it's a little hard compared to 125 years old. So we truly are living in challenging times for everybody in emergency services. Law enforcement, firefighters, EMS, the military as well. And as I tell troopers all the time, it is a we thing, not a me thing. So on behalf of the more than 2,400 members of the Maryland State Police, it is truly my honor and privilege to be here. I thank you for what you do in helping law enforcement, particularly the troopers. I know I saw some Prince George's County chief and some others here today. Last year I heard people talk about safety and safety, something we all preach. Last year I had 38 troopers hit on the side of the road, another 20 cars struck. And I know on many of those scenes, after that happens, your fire apparatus arrives and helps make it safer for all of us. So we truly appreciate that. So on behalf of the state police and as superintendent, it is truly my honor to present the Maryland Firemen's Association with the Superintendent's Salute, which is the highest award I can present, honoring your 125 years of service to the citizens of Maryland. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. I have individual ones for you guys as well.
Okay, well, thank you. And as well, I have a mug for you as well, and a convention bag, and I also will present you, Colonel, with my coin as well. We cannot say enough about one of our many good partners, yourselves included, the MS-PAC and Maryland State Police Aviation Command. We've all helped each other out tremendously, and obviously many of us in here are very thankful for the service, and the citizens don't even realize the services you provide, how great they are, and we are very appreciative of that. Me especially, I love aviation. I fly too, so Godspeed to you guys, and thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Picture pages. As soon as Pete Peterson's done. And it's now my pleasure to present to you Pete Peterson from PEPCO, our big sponsor.
Good morning. I'm here to represent Potomac Electric Power Company, PEPCO. We have a long-standing partnership with our first responders and as well as Delmarva Power, and we just wanted to make a little presentation today to some of the dedicated men and women of the Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service and the Prince George's County Fire and EMS departments. But before I do that, I want to welcome John Petito with Delmarva Power. He has a few words to say.
Thank you, Pete. Good morning, everyone. Just want to mention about what Delmarva Power and the partnership with the fire services has done for the past 17 years. We've donated over $1 million to our partners in Delaware and Maryland, and we've also donated over 19,000 smoke alarms, regular, and 460 special needs smoke alarms. And we're looking forward to moving forward with this great partnership in the future. And I'll turn it back over to Pete. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Thanks, John. As John mentioned, this is a long-standing partnership. And just to give you an idea, with today's donation, we'll be making 1,500 smoke alarms each to Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service and the Prince George's County Fire and EMS Department. In the more than 15 years since we began the program, that brings our total to nearly 50,000 smoking alarms, regular and hearing impaired. And we want to continue to do that partnership. It's a vital piece of our efforts to support our first responders. So with that, I'd like to welcome Montgomery County Fire Chief Hines and Prince George's County Fire Chief Barksdale up to receive their smoke alarms. Chiefs.
Thank you, Pete. This relationship with PEPCO has been a fantastic relationship over the years. These smoke alarms have saved the lives of our citizens, and on behalf of Ike Leggett, our county executive, Scott Goldstein, our fire chief, all the men and women, career and volunteer professionals that make up our service, and the over 1 million citizens that work, live, and play in Montgomery County, Maryland, we can't say thank you enough. Our Safety in the Neighborhood program and our online home fire safety inspection programs will benefit greatly from these donations of these smoke detectors. And with the new law, with the 10-year detectors going into place, invaluable.
Thanks.
Your commitment to our community is unbelievable. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Chief. Thank you.
Yes, Pete, and as well,
all the residents and citizens of Prince George's County, we thank you. And we have really enjoyed the partnership that we've had over the last 15 years. And as Chief just said, I'm sure that these alarms will save lives. And it's great to have a partner like you that are willing to step up and to keep Prince George's County safe. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thank you all very much. Have a safe and happy 125th conference. Appreciate it. John.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much. We do appreciate the support that you guys provide to the fire service. It's obviously invaluable. Pleasure. Thank you, Chief. As soon as I do this. It's my pleasure to introduce the following out-of-state guests. With us from the Delaware Volunteer Fire Association, we have President Ted Wallius. Vice President Richard Perillo. Vice President Bill Betts. Secretary Mr. Elmer Steele. Director Charles Arnold. Executive Manager Warren Jones. Out-of-state coordinator and does everything else in between, Mr. Steve Austin. From Pennsylvania, we have Mr. Alan Steele, past president. Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure having you here every year. And what is that? Terry Jester from, what is DSFC? What is DSFC? Delaware. I'm sorry, I'm having an acronym issue from the DSFC. State Chiefs, Delaware State Fire Chiefs, thank you. There's too many acronyms in the fire service. I work in a phone company, you want to talk about acronyms? I get them all mixed up. They have the same ones. I don't know what people are talking about sometimes. Sorry. From the Delaware State Fire Chiefs, Mr. Jester. And then we have the Vice President, Mr. Andy Hall. Thank you. And then from Virginia State Firemen's Association, we have Mr. Jeff Fliplo. Thank you, Jeff. It's a pleasure seeing you. And from West Virginia Fire Association, Mr. John Hall, Vice President. And thank you very much. Sorry about the confusion. Okay, now at this time, the ladies may be released and they can start their session and the call to order. Thank you very much for helping the festivities. You have something to say?
Nope. Thank you all very much. Happy 125th to all of you. And until we meet again.
Okay, just some general announcements here. Caucus rooms, room 208. Hartford Cecil Counties at room 208. Howard County, you have room 216. Howard County is room 216. That is a revised new location. Southern Maryland, room 205. That meets at 11:30. This is a change, okay? So Southern Maryland, room 205 at 11:30 hours. Eastern Shore, 203 mezzanine. That's the mezzanine level. That's that level right there. You'll get it from this elevator around the back side here. So 203 mezzanine for Eastern Shore, 201 mezzanine for Baltimore County, 204 mezzanine PG County. So 204 for PG County. And Carroll County meets in the PAC in the North Foyer, which is this north end here in the foyer room where the memorabilia was for the Performing Arts Center for Carroll County. And also, we have in-service training seminar today. That starts at 14:30 hours. That's going to be here in the convention hall. We have the bag bingo tonight in the Bayfront Ballroom. Doors open at 5 p.m. We also have the Monday night family event at Jolly Roger Amusement Park. That starts tonight at 6:30 p.m. Tickets for that are located downstairs in the D room and or along the hallway. I can't remember which, so that make you walk around and look through stuff. They're either in the D hall or along the main hallway entrance. There's various events for sale in different places. And also the exhibit's open today at 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And we do appreciate you taking the time to visit and support the vendors. The vendors are a big chunk of what supports us. We appreciate you supporting them and taking the time to peruse and check things out. And a special note new this year, you guys have seen us, I'll mention this, Mr. Mike Furman, who does Flash Max, is here with a big booth. His fire prevention techniques, I think, are phenomenal. My two boys have all the time about Flash Max. So if you got young ones or grandkids, I suggest checking his stuff out. As a great new approach to fire safety for the home and the kids. I strongly suggest you check it out. And he'll be presenting tomorrow as well. Bear with us just a minute, and we'll have the rest of the program go. Now I need to call for a motion to accept the minutes for the 2016 Convention and Conference. I have a motion on the floor. Dave Lewis, seconded by Bobby Balta. All in favor? Opposed? Hearing none.
Rick Hemphill for credentials.
Now we present Mr. Rick Hemphill for credentials.
Thank you, Mr. President. The registration of companies and individuals having appeared and registered at this convention as of 10:00 hours this date, 23 past presidents, 226 companies in good standing. Each past president was eligible to cast 1 vote. Each registered company is eligible to cast 5 votes times 226 registered companies to exercise their privilege to vote for a total of 1,130 eligible company votes. Total votes eligible to cast be 1,153. Thank you, Mr. President. Respectfully submitted.
He's making his way here, but next we're going to have Mr. Gary Rains to report on the Memorial Foundation. Do it now. Can you do it now? We're going to step it up out of order a little bit. We're going to do VCAF and Joe Antichevsky for you.
Good morning. VCAF has had a very successful year. I'd like to thank all my committee members, the executive committee for their support. Just recently, Bay District in St. Mary's County has settled theirs. Hancock Rescue has settled for their new squad in Washington County. And Bay District, as I said earlier, and I hand-delivered Morningside's booklet on Friday before I came down to the Department of Military. Our next meeting will be July the 30th at Hollywood at 12 noon. And one last announcement. Mr. Joe Robinson, past president, is retiring from VCAF. He is the last original member of the VCAF committee, so he is retiring this year. And I want to wish Joe all the success that he's had, and thank you for all your help and assistance and guidance over the years. Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for your help for all the years, too. We appreciate it. Next, we have Mr. James Seavey for the MVFC report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I hope you all enjoyed that 125th kickoff as much as I did. My protege, past President Dave Lewis, is coming up to join me. We're going to give you a brief update on what we're doing for you and to help this country and its volunteer fire service through the National Volunteer Fire Council. Our entire report is on page 101 of your convention program, so we won't bother with going through the entire thing, but we're going to highlight just a few points. Dave currently represents you on 4 committees. He's on the Health, Safety, and Training Committee. He's the Vice Chair of the Homeland Security Committee. He's on the Recruitment and Retention Committee and the Standard and Codes Committee. I serve on the Volunteer Advocacy Committee that deals with the rights of volunteers and protecting those rights, especially the volunteers who serve as career people. I'm the vice chair of that. I'm the co-chair of the Cancer Subcommittee under the Health and Safety and Training Committee. I'm on the National Volunteer Fire Council Foundation and the Conference and Education Committee. Our spring meeting was just in April, and we had a wonderful presentation by the new Homeland Security Secretary, John Kelly. And he has promised to work to his end to guarantee our AFG and SAFER monies for the years to come. Also, the current issues that we're going to be working on is a list of 5. The board of the National Volunteer Fire Council, which Dave and I both sit on, adopted a diabetes position statement that advocates for firefighter physicals, education, and support. They approved an expanded physical statement that outlines options for departments to consider when developing a firefighter medical assessment program. The Health and Safety and Training Committee created an officer training task force specific to junior and mid-level company officers, and that'll be rolling out this year. They voted to support the National Highway Safety Transportation Association's rulemaking action regarding vehicle-to-vehicle technology, and the Legislative Committee added AFG SAFER reauthorization and the LoSAP cap for taxation to the list of legislative priorities. We had elections on the council, and Chief Kevin Quinn from Rhode Island was reelected as the chairman. And I just want to highlight a couple cancer initiatives that we're working on your behalf. We're going to have a sub-website under the NVFC website that will provide you support information and current protection and prevention information on cancer. The NFPA has also established a firefighter cancer study team, and we have 2 representatives on that group. And the first National Fire Service Cancer Symposium that is open to every firefighter in this country is going to be held in Phoenix on September 7th and 8th. And you can get that information if you go to the Fallen Firefighter Foundation website, as they are the facilitators of the National Alliance on Occupational Cancer within the fire service. I'm going to turn it over to Dave. He's involved in several things, including the Make Me a Firefighter program, and he'll have a few comments. Thank you very much for your support. We are here to serve you, and if you have anything for us, please just grab us in the hall, and we'd be glad to talk to you. Dave?
Thank you, Jim. As Jim noted, there's a lot of activity within the NVFC, and Jim and I are both heavily involved with it. One of the benefits of having NVFC headquartered in Greenbelt, it's right in our backyard. One of the side things is they often call upon us to assist them with the other things, which we're glad to do and proud to do, representing not only NVFC but the Maryland Fire Service as well. I've also had a few opportunities to travel across the country on behalf of NVFC, promoting the message there. And a number of things that are there. I would encourage you to stop by the booth and visit Meg Goldberg, who's here in booth 2123, right next to the MSFA recruitment retention booth, which is in 2124. A lot of information there that we've asked Meg to bring down relative to some of the programs and activities of the NVFC. One of the things, of course, is the understanding the challenges that we all have with recruitment retention, the Make Me a Firefighter program, and all the tools that are available to you in order to do that. And we have a very close relationship with the MSFA Recruitment Committee in order to tie those two efforts together. And Joe Chorna can talk to you more about that and how we're tying actually the mdvolunteer.org with the Make Me a Firefighter stuff. Two of the key things that I've had the honor to work with in the health and safety arena are two problems that we face in the fire service that is increasing our maybe unofficial line of duty deaths, but certainly I would consider them line of duty deaths. That's cancer and suicide. You're going to hear more about that throughout the programs. I would encourage you, kind of a few program notes. Scott Gieselhart and Mike Healy will be here on the program this afternoon at about 1 o'clock to hear Scott's story. And if you've never heard Scott's story, I've heard it at least 4 times. I know what's coming next, and it still it's running a chill right through me right now to hear Scott's story. Scott will be here. Inside your packet, in the delegate packet, is the help letter that we published, brand new off the press. It just came off the press about a week ago. There's a poster inside for the Share the Load program. I challenge each and every fire department. I want to make sure as I go around this state that poster is hanging in each and every fire station. If somebody needs help, you and they need to know where to reach out to. That number, the 1-888-734-HELP number, is on that poster and something that you could call. And you never know when the simplest thing may help. I had a story that was shared with me yesterday, if you indulge me just a minute. Somebody told me that just recently I potentially saved somebody's life and didn't even know about it. And I said, how did that occur? Says, well, it's as simple as this, and I'm going to change the facts to kind of protect the privacy of some individuals. I was out in Indianapolis for FDIC. I got to Indianapolis. I had a direct flight back to Baltimore. They were looking for people to bump. I said, okay, what's that? You're not going to drag me off the airplane, right? No, that's United. But they said, well, we'll refund the cost of your ticket to you. If you'll take a voluntary bump, we'll put you on the next flight. We'll send you down from Indianapolis to Florida and then Florida to Baltimore. Okay, so I'm going to lose a few hours, but the price was worth it. And I said, okay, I'll do it. Said, well, get on the airplane. If we need you, we'll call you. I got on the airplane. A few minutes later, they come over the loudspeaker, Dave Lewis, we need you. I got off. I gladly took the check. I walked across the aisle, took a trip down to Florida, and then back up to Baltimore. No big deal. I found out later that the person that took my seat sat next to the individual that told me that I saved this other individual's life, and he started talking about it. This was a chief from another state that says, you know, I had a bad experience a few months ago, and it's really bothered me. What's that? Says a young child ran out in front of my chief's vehicle. I struck the child and killed the child, and I can't cope with that. It really bothered me, and quite honestly, I'm having dark thoughts. And the individual sitting next to him, who again shared this story with me, says, have you heard of the Share the Load program? No, what is that? So he explained to him while he was on the flight about the Share the Load program. He saw that individual just last week at another conference, and that individual says, I want you to know that I called that number, and they have given me so much help. I feel so much relieved because, quite honestly, I thought it was the end. I honestly had suicidal thoughts. So that individual called me and says, you know what, by you giving up your seat to that individual, and that individual by circumstance talking to me, possibly saved his life. And that's the kind of things that we try to do. So please take the time. Scott and Mike will be here at 1 o'clock, and then they're going to be in room 204 right thereafter to kind of talk about how you can take advantage of the resources of the Share the Load program. Cancer. Jimmy's very active in the cancer program. But again, I had the opportunity to be up in New York last year to hear Donna Luce McDonald give her story. She will be on the program tomorrow, tomorrow morning at 9:30, kind of right in the middle of the awards ceremony, to tell her story. Again, a very compelling story how she went through the effects of cancer. And then she will do a presentation at 1:30 along with Trey Kelso, who is our representative to the Firefighter Cancer Support Network. Cancer Support Network is in 1042. Our own Maryland MSFA Cancer Support Network is in 1043. So we're working those issues through the MVSC. Those are two critical issues facing the fire service. And if we put cancer and suicide in the line of duty death category, and I won't be surprised if you see that happen, our numbers are going to skyrocket because it's a terrible thing happened to the nation's fire service. Last year when we went to Emmitsburg, we put 24 names on the wall from people that died from cancer from 9/11 and FDNY. That number is already, I think, at least doubled. There'll be more names added this year. Because again, with PSOB, you have to call the reason that a firefighter dies in the line of duty has to be equated to a single incident. 9/11 was a single incident. But I think that definition will expand when it comes to cancer. So it's a pleasure for Jim and I to serve you. Please stop by the booth and see Meg. Please stop Jim and I to kind of talk about some of the programs. Please hang that poster in your firehouse. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jimmy and Dave. Appreciate it. And now Mr. Gary Rains from the Memorial Foundation.
Good morning. From the very beginning, it's been about honoring and remembering. There had been placed on the heart of one man a need. This need quickly became his dream, and he freely shared his dream with others, and soon it was a dream shared by many. And in 1997, these many dreamers became the Maryland Fire Rescue Services Memorial Foundation. The need that had been placed on Chief Don Mooney's heart that became his dream was for that Maryland had a memorial honoring those from public safety and emergency services whose lives were lost while serving the citizens of Maryland. So he freely and frequently shared his dream with others throughout the great state of Maryland, and he brought together a diverse team of multi-talented individuals who shared his dream. An all-volunteer team made up of dedicated men and women from all over the state, representing multiple state agencies, including MIFRE, MIMS, State Fire Marshal, Maryland Forestry, career and volunteer fire departments, fire companies and ladies auxiliaries, MSP, IAFF locals, National Fallen Firefighters, Maryland State Firemen's Association, ladies auxiliary to the Maryland State Firemen's Association, survivors of Maryland Fallen Heroes, along with individuals from a variety of other entities, affiliations, and organizations. In 1997, this all-volunteer team of dreamers officially became the Maryland Fire Rescue Services Memorial Foundation, a nonprofit whose purpose and mission to design, construct, and maintain a unique living memorial dedicated to members of Maryland's fire rescue and emergency medical community who have given their lives in the performance of their duties. They knew the foundation's purpose, they knew the foundation's mission, and with Don Mooney leading the way as the foundation president, they rolled up their sleeves and they got to work. And that one man was made their leader. And together, they worked, and they worked, and they worked. For the next 8 years, as the news of the foundation and its mission spread, more dedicated dreamers joined the team. Chairman of the board Mooney and members of the foundation continued as promoters, advocates, and they would invest countless hours researching, planning, preparing, hiring, acquiring, and eventually fundraising for this dream they all shared. Oh, sure. Next. Can you back his up? Nope, other way. Other way. Other way. Isn't technology wonderful? All right, as we wait for slide 2, and they worked until their shared dream became a reality in June of 2006. A memorial constructed of brick, mortar, and bronze, embraced by brick pathways, flowers, trees, and shrubs. A living memorial designed, built, and dedicated to volunteering career men and women from Maryland's fire rescue and emergency medical community whose lives were lost while serving the citizens of Maryland. I really need the pictures. One more. On Dedication Day, Chief Mooney said the following, and I paraphrase: "Today is to celebrate the lives and to honor the sacrifice of the men and women whose names are inscribed on the Wall of Honor. They were mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters, brothers, neighbors and friends, fellow workers, both career and volunteer fire and EMS and MSP Medevac personnel. They all had one thing in common. They gave their lives doing what they loved to do, helping other people." He concluded his dedication speech with the following, and I quote, "Today is not an end, but the beginning of a new era. We are now obligated not only to maintain this magnificent memorial site, but to enhance it in the coming years, and to gather here once a year, hopefully not to add names, but to continue to remember those whose names are inscribed here. From the very beginning, it's been about honoring and remembering." Next slide. I invite you to visit room 208 when you have a few minutes to spare and see the pictorial wall of honor, honoring and remembering our 415 Maryland fallen heroes. While working on the project, it was realized that approximately 240 of our line of duty death directory profiles had no photo of the fallen hero. So a little over a year ago, another project was launched. Next slide. Finding a face for a hero. It is our most earnest hope that someday there will be a picture of each Maryland fallen hero to be displayed alongside their name. Until then, if a picture of the hero has yet to be located, then displayed alongside their name will be a picture of the hero's actual helmet, a picture of the hero's badge or appropriate collar pins, or a picture representing the hero's fire company or fire department. Over the past year, of those 240 missing, 113 photos of Maryland fallen heroes have been recovered, are being processed, and will be placed alongside each hero's name, and the search will continue. Since Dedication Day, indeed we have met at 101 Calvert Street in Annapolis each year, the first Sunday of every June, where we have a memorial service to honor and remember our fallen, and sadly, to add names to the Wall of Honor. This past June, the names of 5 fallen heroes were added, and now the Wall of Honor displays the names of 415 Maryland fallen heroes. To design, construct, and maintain a unique living memorial. As the foundation, under the leadership of President Gene Worthington, continues to assure that the yearly perpetual care and maintenance needs of the memorial are met, we ask for your continued support by participating in the memorial service each June and by supporting our annual fundraising efforts. From the very beginning and over the last 20 years, it's been about honoring and remembering, and it always will be. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. I appreciate it. And next, Mr. Harv Woods for the Constitution and Bylaws report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning. There is one item on the ballot this year for a change for the Constitution and Bylaws. Article K, Section 26 would be amended for the purpose of removing the penalties against a member company for failing to complete a statistical report. The committee, the executive committee, the officers urge everyone to vote for this amendment. Thank you.
Are there any other special committees or reports to be had? No other committees or reports? All right, now we'll move on to the reports of the officers. For myself, short and sweet. Page 53 is my report over the accomplishments of the year. We're running a little behind here. So, but I can't thank everyone enough for the support over the many years, and especially to the 125th Committee for putting all this together like they have. It's been a great time running around the state, and I'm still going to be around doing whatever I can for you. You ever need anything, you know where to find me. Remember, you always got to look through our past for the future, and let's try to bridge that gap and the generation gap in the fire service, get our younger folks involved, bring them out to meetings, take them out, get them in administrative positions, and bring them out to the conventions. We all want to see you out there. And now with that, we'll have First Vice President report, Mr. Mark Bilger.
Hello, welcome again to Ocean City. I want to thank President Davis for his successful year. I want to thank Rick Blair for his work this year also. I look forward to working with all of you in the coming year. I want to thank all of you for the hard work and dedication that you provide to this organization. Without your support and your efforts, we would not be able to accomplish the things we have done and what we will do. Thank you very much.
Good morning, President Davis, President Bilger, officers, members, and guests. You can find my report on page 57 of the book. At this time, I would like to thank my wife, Rosalind, my family, my friends, and my colleagues from around the state for their support this past year. A special thanks goes to the membership of the Western Enterprise Fire Company, Clear Spring Fire Company, Clear Spring Ambulance, the Washington County Fire and Rescue Association, and its companies for all the help and support that they gave me this past year. I've had the opportunity to work with some very dedicated members and people from across the state this year. I've served on many committees. And as your second vice president, I will continue to move forward when I'm elected first vice president this coming tomorrow, rather. That's it. Thanks.
Good morning. Thank you. Goodbye. Okay. First of all, you'll find a copy of the report on page 59. It'll outline the accomplishments the Secretary's office had this year. But the office has been very busy, but it hasn't been myself doing all the work. The Assistant Secretaries, Shirley Capato, Diane Gunther, Nancy Cox, Nancy Scott, and Tom Scott, they're the ones that's done the work. They're the ones that needs the credit. Again, thank you for your support and look forward in the years to come. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My report can be found on page 61 for the financial team. I want to thank my Assistant Financial Secretary, Bobby Aaron. Her responsibilities include keeping all the inventory of all the personal property of the association, and that must be submitted to the auditors each year, and that is a daunting task to keep that updated. As far as dues go, I'm happy to stand up here for once and say all member companies, associate, and sustaining organizations have paid their 2017 dues, so I don't have to go check them, find them today. Again, a reminder to please use the P.O. box when you send your dues in. We still have 10 or 11 companies that are mailing their checks to the P.O. box in Timonium that has been closed for 6 years. Sometimes I get the check. A lot of times they just get lost in the Postal Service. So have a safe and enjoyable conference and convention. Thank you.
So good morning. Ron Sarnicki, Treasurer, Maryland State Firemen's Association. It gives me a pleasure to bring greetings from the financial team. The Treasurer's report is on page 61 of the program book, so I'm not going to go through any of the numbers. The biggest piece that I would like to extend to the association is that we have finished our financial review by the Certified Public Accountants of Fike, Connor and Associates, which is a company that we hired to do that annual review. We have been issued a financial report as of June 30th for 2016, and there are no findings in the audit at all, no elements within the management letter, and we are happy to report that they are very comfortable with our conversion to using QuickBooks by both the MSFA and the LA MSFA in all of our financial records for the association. So that's been a 2-year task of doing that conversion from ledgers and checkbooks. That is all completed, and this will be the first review that was done under the new system, and we came through without any findings whatsoever. It's a pleasure to serve as your treasurer. I am up for re-election today, so hopefully you think I've done enough to warrant your support for another term. I am running, and I really look forward to serving the association in a variety of fashions for the next couple of years. So now I'm going to change hats as the convention chairman. So what'd you think of the opening? Pretty cool? We've been working with our committee and our chairman, Tommy Mattingly, for a while to try and figure out how to make the 125th special. We wanted to do confetti. The convention center said no. So I said, okay, we'll do balloons and indoor fireworks, and they still got confetti on the floor to clean up. So it's going to work out for us and them. But we wanted to make sure that we brought some of the traditions of the MSFA back to the convention. We spent a lot of time at the archives up in Pasadena looking through old pictures, convention books, proceedings books, to capture the flavor of what it was like back in the 1800s and early 1900s when the MSFA would gather. And this is what we put. All of the counties represented, our state, our nation. And as Tommy said, Tommy Mattingly, the more red, white, and blue bunting we can have in the building, the better he would be and the better we would be. I got to thank Waterwitch for constructing the arch. That's something that was a pretty significant tradition back in those early days. They built that arch. We had it transported from Waterwitch here to Ocean City, and I have to say that the town of Ocean City helped in the construction of it. And there is some interest for it to be used at both Springfest and Summerfest as part of the activities on the boardwalk. So it's part of that continued collaboration with the town of Ocean City. So a lot of activities happening. I know that at some point Roger Steger will give a report on future convention dates. That has to be accomplished. We do have dates for the next 4 years that we've been able to work out on a contract, so Roger will take care of that at another point in the program. But I just want to thank all of you for the support you've given to the convention committee, and we hope that we have met your expectations. Thank you, be safe, and have a great time at the beach.
Good morning. I'm C. Dan Carpenter III, Chairman, MSFA Board of Trustees. My report is in the convention book, so I'm not going to go over that. The most important thing I want to get out there and stress is if you have a member that's injured in the line of duty or a death, please contact one of the trustees. You can go on the msfa.org website, top of the page, trustees, click on that. You'll see the trustees' manuals. You'll see the trustees' names. We'll be glad to help you fill out the forms, and go over everything. Thank you.
I now call for the nominations of officers. Opening office for the nominations of President. Recognize Mr. Charlie Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. President. President Davis, officers, members of this great association, my fellow delegates and alternates, clergy, distinguished guests. I am Charles J. Simpson, Jr., a life member of the Pleasant Valley Community Fire Company, a life member of the Westminster Fire Engine and Hose Company. I'm a past president of the Carroll County Volunteer Emergency Services Association and the Carroll County Volunteer Ambulance Association, a member of the MSFA Training Committee, the MSFA EMS Committee, and the MSFA Strategic Planning Committee. I currently serve as Vice Chair of the MSFA Executive Committee. I stand before you today to nominate Mark A. Bilger for the office of President. Mark is an active member of the Hampstead Volunteer Fire Engine and Hose Company. Since joining the company, he has served in various elected and appointed positions to include delegate to the county and state conventions and conferences. Mark is a past president of the Carroll County Volunteer Emergency Services Association, and he continues to serve that association as co-chair of the Past President's Committee. In 1992, Mark was asked to serve as an MSFA Training Committee member. He served that committee till 2015. Mark chaired the MSFA Bylaws or Fire Laws Book Committee from 1994 through 2015. In 2005, Mark was chair of the MSFA Statistical Committee, and in 2009, Mark was asked to represent the volunteers of Carroll and Howard counties on the MSFA Executive Committee. Mark is also a member of the MSFA Hall of Fame. Mark had a 20-year career with the Office of the State Fire Marshal. In 1993, Mark joined the Office of the Fire Marshal as a sworn Deputy State Fire Marshal. He served a 5-county region. He conducted fire and life safety inspections, focusing on business and corporate facilities. He performed fire, criminal, and other investigatory type situations. He was the lead investigator on 13 fire investigations involving fatalities. He also led efforts to improve operations and information sharing between the State Fire Marshal's Office and local fire and EMS companies. In 2000, he was promoted to the position of Deputy Chief State Fire Marshal, or Regional Commander. Mark led all operations for a 4-county region of one of the nation's largest and most comprehensive fire marshal agencies. Mark served as a member of the State Fire Marshal Office senior staff. He led an office of 10 employees, including sworn and civilian personnel, developing the group into one of the most efficient teams in the State Fire Marshal's office. He's provided oversight to fire and arson investigations, inspections, compliance, interagency coordination, and support for the local and fire EMS law enforcement agencies. He conducted 424 origin and cause of fire investigations into multiple occupancy, commercial, residential, multi-use fires, and suspected arsons. Mark served as the State Fire Marshal representative to the Maryland Emergency Management Agency. He assumed the lead role in managing agency resources in the State 911 Center in a time of disaster. researched, revised, and proposed changes to policies, procedures, and operations for the purpose of improving coordination and efficiency to the agency. Routinely, he served as the State Fire Marshal Public Affairs Officer and developed the first State Fire Marshal Office College Intern Program. In 2013, Mark retired from the State Fire Marshal's Office to pursue other opportunities in public service. In 2016, Mark joined the Maryland Fire and Rescue Institute as a regional coordinator. Mark is responsible for overseeing the daily operations of the Upper Eastern Shore Regional Office and Training Center and the coordination of emergency services training programs in Kent, Queen Anne's, Caroline, Talbot, and Anne Arundel County. Mark's position requires him to have a working knowledge of emergency services and training coordination. As a regional coordinator, Mark serves as a resource not only to the Institute, but also to the local fire and law enforcement jurisdictions in his region. I truly believe that Mark's work as a volunteer in his home company, his county, and with the Maryland State Firemen's Association, along with his leadership roles with the Office of the Fire Marshal and the Maryland Fire Rescue Institute, has provided him the skills needed to lead this organization. One last thing I want to mention about Mark. For the past 26 years, he has been a loving and devoted husband to Nancy, the pretty young lady who stands on the stage with him. Ladies and gentlemen, I respectfully request that you cast your vote for Mark A. Bilger, the next president of this great association. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kenny Ruby, and I am current president of the Hampstead Volunteer Fire Engine and Hose Company No. 1, Incorporated. I am here today to second the nomination of Mark A. Bilger for the office of president. Joining me in seconding the nomination are the following. MSFA past presidents: C. Oscar Baker, Robert Cumberland Jr., Joseph A. Robertson, Thomas A. Mattingly Sr., Richard Yinger, George A. Fred Cross, Stephen D. Cox, Danny Davis, Robert Nippenberg, Carl Elin Jr., Philip Herlock, Roger Steger, Gene Worthington, Terry Thompson, Robert W. Jacobs, Bobby Balta, Paul Sterling, Frank Underwood, Doyle Cox, Dave Lewis, John Denver, Jackie Olson, Dave Keller, Johnny Roth, Roger Powell, Bernie Smith. Trustees: Chairman Danny Carpenter, Vice Chairman Doug Alexander, Secretary Treasurer Jeff Thompson, Ben Kurtz, Past President Terry Thompson. Executive Committee: Vice Chairman Charles Simpson Jr., Rick Hempfield, Tim Dayton, John Fisher, James Seavey, Richard Smith, Dan Stevens, Wayne Tomey, Justin Tolles, Chuck Walker. Committee Chairs: Rusty Leftwich, Jay Tucker, Ed Woods, Wally Donaldson, Ken Bush, Laura Woods, Bill Hildebrand, Teresa Ann Chrisman, Steve Barry, Ron Watkins, Joseph Chernock, Michael LeConte, Dale Fishak Jr., Lou Johnsk. Others: Dave Call, past president, Allegheny County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association. Eric Smothers, president of the Frederick County, Maryland Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association. Robin Hahn, president, Cecil County Association. Thank you.
All right, can we strike up the band?
Down front.
Are there any other nominations for the office of president? Any other nominations for the office of president? Motion to close the nominations. Second. All in favor? So moved. We now open up nominations for the office of first vice president. Recognize Mr. Dale Hill.
Thank you, Mr. President. And welcome to all the member companies of our great association. My name is Dale Hill. I am the current and first vice president and immediate past president of the Washington County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association. I am also a past president of the Funkstown Volunteer Fire Company located in Washington County. I am very humbled and excited to stand before you today to offer the nomination of Mr. Richard Blair for the position of first vice president of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. At this time, I would ask Rick and his wife to come to the stage, but they have already come out, so thank you for doing that for me. Last year, I stood before this great organization and nominated Rick for the office of second vice president. At that time, I provided information of the many accomplishments, credentials, and experience Rick brought with him for being a leader within his own member company's positions, the Washington County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association, within the Maryland State Firemen's Association, and by serving capacities with other allied organizations. Some of the many positions Rick has held has been as a chief, president, captain, treasurer, board member, and as a member of numerous committees on the local, county, state, and federal levels. Rick possesses all the qualifications of a true volunteer in the fire, EMS, and rescue services of our great state, along with great pride, honesty, commitment, and dedication. I can state today with the utmost confidence that Rick has fulfilled his obligation and duties as the second vice president beyond all expectations. He has done so with great pride, dignity, honesty, respect, with all-out commitment, and will continue to serve each of you to the best of his ability. Rick has traveled all across our great state, far and wide, logging more than 22,000 miles, and spent countless hours attending meetings, fundraisers, memorial services, various member company functions, and other activities as your second vice president. This also does not take into account for many, many hours of communications required either by telephone or by electronic mail. Accompanying Rick many times while he was attending these many functions was his lovely wife, Rosalind, who also understands that commitment is needed to succeed as the first vice president. Everything Rick has been involved with has been for the benefit of fire, rescue, and EMS services of our state and for the Maryland State Firemen's Association. He has spent countless hours lobbying for our membership in Annapolis and throughout the remainder of the state. There shall be no doubt that Rick will continue to provide great leadership to the Maryland State Firemen's Association and continue to monitor what will be in the best interests of our member companies and the volunteer fire, EMS, and rescue service in the state of Maryland. I firmly believe and know that Rick has the commitment, the knowledge to continue to lead our great organization by listening to the needs and the other recommendations of our membership. This, along with the great work of our committees and their input, will all work collectively to continue to develop a long-range plan for the future of the Maryland State Firemen's Association and ultimately for the benefit of our member companies. All of this cannot be accomplished without quality leadership at the top of the organization. Rick has those qualities. It is with great pride that I stand before you today to nominate Mr. Richard Blair for the office of the first Vice President of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. Thank you for your consideration and hopefully for your unanimous support. At this time, I would like to call on Ms. Anna Dobbins to second the nomination.
Thank you, Dale. Good morning, everyone. My name is Anna Dobbins. I am the Executive Administrator for Western Enterprise Fire Company in Hagerstown, Maryland. It is my honor and privilege to second the nomination of Richard C. Blair for first Vice President of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. Rosalind Levine, Rick's wife, joins me in seconding the nomination of Richard C. Blair for first Vice President of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. I have quite a list of individuals who also join us in seconding the nomination. If you are in the room, please make your way up to the stage if you are able. Past presidents: Robert Cumberland, Jr., Daniel C. Davis, Jr., John Denver, David W. Lewis, Paul H. Sterling, Jr., Frank J. Underwood, Jean Worthington, Roger Stager, Robert Nippenberg, Joseph Robeson, Philip Herlock, Roger Powell, Terry E. Thompson, Jean Worthington, Jacqueline Olson, David Keller III, Robert Jacobs, Stephen Cox, L. King, Bernard J. Smith, Johnny Roth, Oscar Baker, Robert Balta, Doyle Cox, Fred Cross, Carl Edelin, Thomas Mattingly Sr., Richard Yingler, Leonard King, County Associations, Allegheny and Garrett Counties, Washington County Fire and Rescue Association, Eastern Shore Association, Howard County Firemen's Association, Southern Maryland Firemen's Association, Glendale Firemen Association Incorporated, Prince George's County, Cecil and Harvard County Associations, Western Enterprise Volunteer Fire Company, Clear Spring Volunteer Fire Company, Clear Spring Ambulance, Funkstown Volunteer Fire Company, Brunswick Volunteer Fire Company. Clarence D. Carpenter, Ron Watkins, Harry Gossard, Harvey Woods, Laura Woods, Bob Phillips, Hugh Owens, John Hoagland, Calvin Stack, Rodney W. Bowser, Glenn D. Fishak Sr., G. Dale Fishak Jr., Jeffrey Thompson, Tim Ganley, Thomas Flint II, Robin S. Hahn, William Hillebrand, Dale L. Hill, Chip Clarence Jewell, Gene Kidwell, Brian L. Lohman, Robert McKinley, John Long, Reverend Harry Hetz, Mike Ballard, Melissa Williams, Richard Smith, Bill William Smith, Eric Smothers, Richard A. Snader, Doug Graham Snow, James J. Snyder Jr., Justin Towles, Charles Abrecht, Stephen T. Berry, Calvin Stack Jr., Douglas Alexander, Rick Hemphill, Charles Barr, Charles Monday, Brian Altman, Heather M. Miller, Jason T. Miller, David Skip Menzies, Bob McHenry, Richard Bauer, Mario Melfa, Joel C. McCrae, John Dobbins, Darren S. Long, Brian Lohman, Karen L. Lohman, Gerald Lynott Jr., Gene Kidwell, Barry Johnson, Reverend Harry Hetz, Bobby Howe, Harvey Lewis, Marcine Goodlow, Richard A. Green Sr., John Dulina, Tim Dayton, Teresa Chrisman, Teresa Collins, Stuart W. Carter, Joseph Tornock, Jim Brown, Ken Bush, Jason L. Baer, Dave Irvin Sr., Lynn Hunsberger, Robert Moncrief, Jim Snyder, J.C. Altman, Dylan Altman, Jay Williams, Sherry Heiser Rohr, Devin Mills, Rhonda Dayhoff, Chandlin Fishak, Robert Moncrief, Michael LeCompte, Harry Gossard, Heather Gossard, Kathy Bartles, David Stevens, Pam Stevens, Heather Myers, Ron Horn, James Sprecher Jr., Heather Myers, Travis Barktle, Woody Morris, Terry Smith, Harry Ingram, Jay Rowland, Jerry Cunningham, Steve Jacobs, Rodney McCoy, James Burdett, Francis Marshall, Rita McCoy, Daryl Benner, Chris Mullendore, Jay Morgan, William Ball III, Donald Bingaman, Robert O. Fraley, Gary Mariotti, Michael Reed, Zachary Reed, Robert Downs, Greg Yost, Rick Rao, Thomas Leash, Courtney Hirsch, Vern Wachter, Ole Griffith, Charles Buddy Blake, Danny Gibson, Milton Bloom III, Joseph Rawls, Twyla Grove, Danny Grove, Kirk Mongan, Robert Meyerly, Clinton Stauffer, Dale Martin, Joe Kotenko, Eric Gray, Stephanie Stellard, Daryl Huntsberger, Grace Irvin, Robert Scott, Brittany Mariotti, Stephen Barnhart, Ernie Truax, Ward Flager, Melvin Smith, Robert Cheney, Anita Heifer, Steve Hefner, Charmaine Hill, Todd Smith, Clarence Weber, Harvey Smith, Donna DeLauder Smith, Tanya Leather, Erica Palladino, Rose Canode, Becky Sotil, Adam Semler, Annette Semler, Brian Stallings, Krista Stallings, Kitty Ballard, Carol Mazzola. And anyone else I might have missed. Please join us. Oh. Okay, this is my opportunity. Bandmaster, strike up the band.
Are there any other nominations for the office of first vice president? Are there any other nominations for the office of first vice president? Hearing none, I hear a motion. All nominations to be closed. Do I have a second? Nominations by Ronald Watkins, second by Mr. Roger Powell. So closed. Now I'll open the floor for nominations for the office of second vice president. Oh, sorry. We need a motion. We did. We need to vote on it. I'm sorry. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Now for the office of second vice president. Robbie Blackston.
Good morning. My name is Robbie Blackston. I'm the current president of the Sudlersville Volunteer Fire Company in Queen Anne's County. On behalf of the officers and members of the fire company, we're going to like to nominate Mike Faust for second vice president. Mike Faust is a life member of the Sudlersville Volunteer Fire Company, in addition to being the fourth generation firefighter within the department. Held suppression and administrative offices during his 30-year tenure. At the state levels, held the office of Assistant Financial Secretary and is currently on the Executive Committee on his fourth term. Also, co-chair of the Marketing Committee. We're highly involved with the SAFER grant, and we work on other committees, including recruitment and retention, and the safety committees on a regular basis. We think it's an honor and a privilege to have Mike running for this office, and please cast your vote tomorrow.
Good morning. Steve Cox. I second the nomination of Mike Faust for second vice president, Maryland State Firemen's Association, and with me is his lovely wife, Stacy. She also seconds, along with Fred Cross. You and your husband?
I'd like to read the names of the following people that are also seconding Mike. Past presidents: Bobby Walter, Doyle Cox, Bob Cumberland, C. Daniel Davis, John Denver, Philip Herlock, Bobby Jacobs, Leonard King, Robert Nittenberg, Dave Lewis, Tom Mattingly, Jackie Olson, Roger Powell, Johnny Roth, Richard Smith, Paul Sterling, Bernie Smith, Richard got promoted, Frank Underwood, Gene Worthington, Joe Robinson, Carl Edlin. And from the trustees, Dan Carpenter, Jeff Thompson, Ben Kurtz. Other officers: Michael Davis, Mark Bilger, Rick Blair, Ron Sarnicki, Wally Donaldson, Mitch Folk, Michael Farlow, John Long, Skip Mahan, Nancy Cox, Shirley Caputo. From the Executive Committee: Dub Simpkins, Charlie Simpson, Richard Smith, Tim Dayton, John Fisher, Jim Seavey, Rick Camphill, Dan Stevens, Wayne Tome, Justin Tolles, and Chuck Walker definitely endorsed him, and unfortunately he can't be here, but we need him. We need you to put him in his prayers.
Also, the following counties have endorsed Mike: Queen Anne's County Fire and EMS Commission, Billy Faust; Kent Queen Anne Association, Doug Quare; Cecil County, Prince George's County, Allegheny County, Garrett County, Baltimore County, Montgomery County, Anne Arundel County, Talbot County, Dorchester County. And at this time, I'd like all the members of Sudlersville Fire Company to come join us, because they also second the nomination of Mike Faust for second vice president. Thank you, Mr. President.
You don't have any hair. Are there any other nominations for the office of second vice president? Are there any other nominations for the office of second vice president? Nominations moved by Mr. Nippenberg, seconded by Rhonda Watkins. All in favor? Any opposed? Sorry, I can't say your name today. Now we open nominations for the office of secretary. Present Mr. Danny Davis.
President Davis, officers, delegates, alternates, and honored guests, it's my pleasure to stand before you today to nominate Doyle Cox for the office of secretary. Doyle has served this association as president, executive committee chairman twice, and on numerous committees, and is currently serving as your secretary. He is a member of the MSFA and Southern Maryland Hall of Fame. He's a friend, and I ask for your support in electing Doyle Cox to secretary. Second in his nomination is Shirley Capato.
Good morning, afternoon. Shirley Capato, past president of Leonardtown Rescue Squad, past president Southern Maryland Firemen Association. I've worked for Doyle in the capacity of assistant secretary for 5 years, and I'd like to second his nomination.
Thank you. Any other nominations for the office of secretary? Any other nominations for the office of secretary? Move nominations to be closed. All in favor say aye.
That wasn't me.
Opposed? Office of the treasurer. We now open nominations for the office of the treasurer. I will present you Mr. Bobby Jacobs.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. I think it's still morning. It is. President Davis, Vice Presidents Bilger and Blair, MSFA officers, delegates, and members of the Maryland State Farm Association. It is a privilege and honor to place before this body my associate Ronald J. Sarnicki for the office of treasurer. Ron has served as treasurer of this great association since 2005. Through his enormous talents, determination, and demonstration in maintaining the physical affairs of this organization to its fullest is beyond words. Through his leadership as an officer, and in addition to chairing the convention committee, once again provides this organization the strong structure today and in the future. Of course, you heard his report this morning on how well the financial reports were with the CPA firm. Ron, in another role, is the executive director of the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation, providing a dynamic insight for our organization and by assisting in keeping the MSFA informed on both local and national affairs. As you know, he has established multiple checks and balances through his leadership and association with the MSFA financial team as a whole, and by doing so, he works diligently, as he has shown great expertise in maintaining the physical affairs of this organization and will continue to do so in the future to ensure that all federal and state regulations and mandates are met, ensuring that this organization is in compliance accordingly. Ron's fire service commitment exceeds well over 40 years as a volunteer career firefighter, retiring as the chief of the Prince George's Fire and EMS Department, and currently serving as the president of the United Communities Volunteer Fire Company in Stevensville. From this short bio, it easily identifies his commitment, knowledge, and talents that are difficult to challenge. Please join me by re-electing Ronald J. Sarnicki to the office of treasurer of the Maryland State Farm Association for another 2-year term. Thank you, and please join me by extending a warm MSFA applause in supporting his nomination and for a job well done.
Yeah, it's still morning, we're safe. I'd like to second the nomination of Ron Sarnicki for treasurer, and following groups would also like to second him. The financial team, the complete financial team, the trustees, the budget committee, and the executive committee. Anyone want to come out? Just to make it short and sweet. I guess that's it. No band, no hats, no band.
No band.
Nobody came out.
No underwear?
Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. You want that or Nancy? Who gets it?
Thank you. Any other nominations for the office of treasurer? Any other nominations for the office of treasurer? Motion by Johnny Ross, second by Ron Rockins. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? So moved. Now we open the office of nominations for chief chaplain. We present Mr. Jay Olson.
Morning. My name is Jay Olson. I'm chief of the Ferndale Fire Company. Ferndale Volunteer Fire Company takes great pride in submitting the name of Reverend John F. Long for the office of Chief Chaplain of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. John has held this office since being elected in 2005 and has performed the duties associated with the office to the best of his abilities. As one of our certified pump operators, John is dedicated to staffing the station every Thursday night through Friday afternoon, and he has 42 years of fire service experience and has held every line officer position. It is with great pride that the Ferndale Volunteer Fire Company nominate Reverend John F. Long for the office of Chief Chaplain. Thank you. Hello. Yes, Tom Nevins. Tom's probably out in the audience.
Steve Cox, I second the nomination for John Long, Chief Chaplain of the Maryland State Firemen's Association.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Any other nominations for the office of chaplain? Any other nominations for the office of chief chaplain? Move to be closed. All those second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Now open. Yes, sir.
We're not done yet.
We're not done yet. We now open the floor for nominations of trustees. Mr. Doug Alexander.
I bet I can do it in less. Good morning, Mr. President, officers, delegates, alternates, past presidents, and guests. I am honored to stand before you today to nominate Mr. Terry E. Thompson for the office of trustee of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. Terry is a husband, father, grandfather, and dedicated emergency services volunteer who has served the citizens of Howard County and the state of Maryland for over 45 years. Terry has served the citizens of Howard County through both the 5th District and the Savage Volunteer Fire Companies. He has served in both administrative and operational officer positions, including president of the County Firemen's Association, fire chief at the 5th District, and president of the Savage Volunteer Fire Department and president of the Maryland Fire Chiefs during his tenure with the Howard County Fire Service. His service to the MSFA has been nothing less than exemplary. Terry has served as president of the MSFA and on the MSFA Executive Committee, serving a year as chair as well. He was the representative for Carroll and Howard counties. He has also served on several other MSFA committees and is a member of the MSFA Hall of Fame. Terry is truly an outstanding and dedicated leader in the emergency services community. Today, I ask that you help the future of the MSFA by joining the Savage Volunteer Fire Company and the Howard County Volunteer Firemen's Association in supporting the candidacy of Terry E. Thompson for re-election to the MSFA Board of Trustees. Thanks. Seconding the nomination will be Paul Sterling, past president.
Thank you, Doug. You already heard a lot of things about Terry. I just want to say that he has served his local department, county, and state with great honor and distinction. More importantly, Terry has continued to look out for the best welfare of our injured and firefighters killed in the line of duty, and he will continue to do that and be a great trustee for this organization. I'm proud to second his nomination for trustee.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any other nominations for the office of trustee? Any other nominations for the office of trustee? Move to close nominations. Second by Mr. Robinson. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? So moved.
Nominations for the location of the 2022 convention.
Mr. Stager has, or excuse me, Mr. If you guys can stop with the balloons, please. I cannot hear. I need to be able to hear. Thank you. Gunshots. Shots fired. I'll show you shots fired. Yeah. Take that off. Strike that from the record. Now we did for the nominations for the location of the 2022 convention.
Roger Steger, Ocean City Volunteer Fire Company. I'd like to make a motion that we had the 2022 convention in Ocean City. Thank you.
Need a second. A second. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Now, motions from the floor. Mr. Powell. On Mr. Powell's motion. Repeat it. You move that we cast a ballot, unanimous ballot, for all offices except for the office of secretary, and also, and then myself cast a ballot for the secretary. All those in favor? Any opposed? So have it. Okay. Appointment of the judges and tellers. We have Mr. Charles Simpson. There's Cherry Heiser. Robbie Blackiston. Excuse me. Yes, teller Robbie Blackiston. Judge Kent Whalen and teller Doug Guire.
Okay. Is that it? That's it? Yep. We have a chaplain?
Nothing further from the floor.
All right. And then we'll recess the convention until 12:45.
We'll recess the convention for 1 hour until 12:45 and reconvene. Session's closed for the morning. Thank you.